left individual. On my right, on my left, got staff. Harambe. All right. Harambe means in Swahili, let's pull together. So we're going to try it again. Harambe. Now, I grew up Southern Baptist. You know what that means? That means you understand where you're going before you get there. You realize the average person pretends like they are paying attention. In reality, their main concern is that you don't stay up there too long. And so the way that Southern Baptist individuals motivate the speaker is they do something called call and response. And so I'm not going to say that you showed up here today wanting a quick Lyceum program. What I am going to say is we're going to speak metaphorically, and depending on whether or not you talk back to me determines how long I stand with this mic. I heard a whale. So, there is no scripture, but there is a thing. And so you're going to turn to your neighbor. Yes, because in order to get the college students involved, they must communicate. To make you stay off of your telephones, to make sure that you don't text your neighbor when you talk to them. And so turn to your neighbor and say, neighbor, do you think you deserve to celebrate? Come on now, teach with me. Neighbor, do you think you deserve to celebrate? Now say it one more time. Neighbor, do you think you deserve to celebrate? Oh, I think we're in here now. Teach. In 1875, an amazing individual who we refer to as the father of originally Negro History Week was born. And when he was born to the parents of former slaves, which ended up becoming indentured servants, and therefore he worked in locations such as mining areas until he was about 20 years old, he and his siblings. When he turned 20, he was for the first time ever able to attend high school to receive an education. Some of you thought you were behind when you came to college late. And in approximately 2 years, he finished high school and he went on to attend college and ended up being the second PhD graduate from Harvard University. He finished within a year. The young man's name, Mr. Carter G. Winston, is already referenced by our amazing president, acknowledged that what he realized was that once he finished his PhD during that period in time of history, it was a glass ceiling. It's almost like once you received your highest credentials, it was nowhere else for African Americans to go. In spite of that, there were amazing HBCUs that fostered the knowledge and education. Institutions such as St. Augustine's University, founded in, yes teacher, 1867. Institutions such as Howard University, and in that area, Washington, D.C., Carter G. Woodson became a faculty member where he was amongst the legends of other individuals such as W.E.B. Du Bois and the Honorable Rayford Logan. And so while he's in this location, he's realizing that HBCUs are the location in which individuals who are trying to perpetuate knowledge amongst their community must go. What he also realizes in the midst of segregation and racism and discrimination and things that are going on, that he understood that your excuses will never be good enough. And so he understood that it comes a point in time where you must go beyond your limitations. W.B. Du Bois, who was born from parents whose father was a barber but left his mother at a young age. And so what does that mean? He was brought up in a single parent home, and yet the first individual to get a PhD from Harvard University, which is one of your testimonies. Someone in here came from a single parent home. Some of you in here started high school late, such as Carter G. Woodson. Some of you in here started a path and did not know what your completion meant, but you hopefully understand that your life is beyond your life. Your life plays an intricate role in the development of someone else's. And so what Carter G understood was, he said, in spite of all the obstacles that African Americans have had to face, in the midst of understanding this intellectual discourse that we must have with one another, there is a struggle that's going on 364 days of the year in the African American community, unless it's a leap year. He said that we understand that there are issues going on within the United States of America, and someone has to grab hold that we are not laying down and dying, but we are fighting. And we're not just fighting with our fists, but such as Martin Luther King, we are fighting with our intellectual capacities. We are understanding that non-violence through an intellectual manner is the most powerful tool that we have. And so, in 1926, he set aside Negro History Week for two reasons. The first reason is that it marked the birthday of what people often give credit to Abraham Lincoln as freeing the slaves. It also marked Frederick Douglass's birthday. Frederick Douglass, who initially did not know his actual date of birth, gave credit to February 14th for the rest of his life. And so he said that due to these two figures that played key roles in the African American community, this is the week in which, and this is the importance, Carter G. Woodson said that we are not having a Negro History Week so that we can show for this one week and remember that we are black. Carter G. Woodson said that this is the one week that we set aside to emphasize what we have already learned year-round about being black. That's a powerful difference. And so what does that mean? Carter G. Winston said that there are a lot of things that we're going through year-round, and we have been able to overcome it. There are a lot of labels that have been placed on our community, and we've been able to endure. And so for this one week that represents freedom, for this one week that represents abolitionists, for this one period in time that makes a historical landmark, we want to emphasize what we've already done, and most importantly, what we have already studied about. And so, as he transitions on and creates this amazing week in 1926, and he moves forward, and he begins to study, and he begins to show himself approved. And by the time 1943 came around, he became slightly disheartened. And so what he began to realize is, in the midst of individuals that are supposed to be studying, in the midst of individuals that are constantly perpetuating and chiseling at the foundation of racism and discrimination in order for unification, not just amongst the black community. Because please note, in teaching African American history, I grew up with a figure of speech that I would not want to live in an all-white world. But I hope my mic is working, because I would not want to live in an all-black one. And so the purpose of this was to be able to move beyond the walls. And so what Carter G understood is that he went up and down the highways, and he groomed graduate students, and they went door to door selling African Americans discourse information about what was going on in the black community, to make them better scholars, to make them critical thinkers, to make it where people did not spoon feed them information off of hearsay, but that they could have intellectual conversation casually. And so, in 1950, February came again. And Carter G. Winston was frustrated by this point. They looked at him and they said, Carter G., what do you think about this week? Because it was still a week in 1950. It's time to celebrate. Carter G. simplistically said, and he was quoted, no study, no celebration. What did that mean? The people aren't studying, and therefore they don't deserve to celebrate. Translation, the students that are passing their classes, they've earned the right to go to a party every now and then. They've earned the right to see a pre-dawn. They've earned the right to let's go slang turn up just for a little while. But for those students that do not study, for those students who feel like F should be their home, for those students who feel like B's are just passing them by and C's are just a dream, you have not earned the right to celebrate. The slow clap means I don't know what my grade is yet. I'm just praying for me to turn. I'm just fasting and praying, Jesus. Carter G said, no study, no celebration, which means that Negro History Week is not designed to be a cliche. The purpose of this week is not just so that someone can say, you know what a week is, but it's to demonstrate what you study year-round, and now you can pass on the torch and perpetuate that knowledge. And if you have not studied, you do not earn the right to celebrate. Oftentimes you hear the figure of speech or that slogan where people say they gave us the shortest month of the year. Instead of understanding that in actuality, it celebrates the most powerful legacy that there is. In 1950 of that same year, the month was April to be exact, Carter G. Woodson died of a heart attack while working in his office. At his homegoing service, one of the army bearers was John Hope Franklin. Nugget, because there's a John Hope Franklin symposium that will start after this. And who is John Hope Franklin, and why is he so important? And he's the army bearer at the funeral of Carter G. Woodson. John Hope Franklin, who in 1947 wrote the first account of From Slavery to Freedom. And why did he write this work? Because Carter G. Woodson was going door to door selling African Americans, or during that time period, Negroes, informational material. And so there was another ethnicity that said that we want to also have access to what is going on within the black community. We want to have a deeper understanding of the knowledge that's being perpetuated amongst your people. And so John Hope Franklin did that. And not only did he write From Slavery to Freedom, and not only was he a pallbearer, but for those who saw the movie Selma, he was actually a part of that march. And not only was he in that march with Martin Luther King, they said there was 120 plus historians. We need some history majors. We need some history majors. Yes, Lord, we need some history majors. Thank you, Jesus, for the history. 120 plus historians were walking in the March of Selma, and they say that they began to chant for the historians, that the historians are here, let them pass. And they pushed all of them towards the front of the march and the protest. And John Hope Franklin was not only at the March of Selma, but when you had the Brown versus Board of Education decision that made it where segregation was no longer allowed in the public school system under Thurgood Marshall, who they say was the only person noted for working harder than Carter G. Woodson, he was also working on that Brown versus Board of Education decision case under Thurgood Marshall. Why is John Hope Franklin so important? Because what he says is the only way our story can pass on is if we write it down and pass it on ourselves. Winston, why is this important? I did not sign up for your class. I have an answer. Ready? This is where you talk again. All right. Here's my answer. There is a vast amount of individuals who are completely content with you forgetting about your history so they can rewrite your destiny. Say that slow. Say it slow. And then somebody's going to give me a 5 minutes. There are a vast amount of individuals who are completely okay with you forgetting about your history so they can rewrite your destiny. Why? What does that mean? If you don't know, and it's a cliche where you came from, it's easy to say you don't know where you're going, but let's go deeper than that. If you don't know the name of your mother, if you don't know the name of your father, if you don't know the name of your guardian, if you don't know your background and your genealogy, how do you know what to check on the SAT box for your ethnicity? How do you know who you are as a person if you don't know immediately where you came from? And if you don't know who you are, then what is the consequence of that? This is where self-esteem comes into play. This is where we deal with issues within our community, and we have suicidal thoughts. Why? Because we put energy into someone and something else because we have a lack of identity within ourselves. And so what John Hope Franklin was teaching us, and what Carter G. Woodson was teaching us, and what Ida B. Wells has taught us, is that if you know who you are, no one can change your identity of how you view yourself. And then what's more powerful than that is every now and then we must be reminded about how great we are. And how do you know that you're great? Because whatever your religious background is, you were made by God, and God said that you were perfect. Whatever your hair is, God said He wants it to look like that. Whatever your eyes look like, God said, I want your eyes to look like that. The way your ears are shaped, God said, I want you to be perfectly made in that image. And so when someone talks about you and they don't like you, they are speaking not death over you, but over themselves, because they're saying what God did is not good enough. And so what is the connection? You have to know who you are to know how great God is. You have to understand how amazing you are internally to understand that what God did was perfect. And if you question who you are, if you have a lack of identity of what you are, then you also question who God is. And if you think God is perfect, and if you believe God does not make mistakes, then you understand that the way you are made and the way you have been created is just right, because it's what God intended for it to be. Now, why is that powerful? Because your people, your ancestors came along with that belief as they were singing the songs metaphorically, swing low, swing chariot, coming forth to carry me on. As they were singing the songs, I look over yonder and I think things over. They understood amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a race like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found, was blind, but now I see. They sung spiritual songs to uplift them, to keep them going, because they understood that their culture was powerful and it must be passed on. And so if I understand how powerful you are, if I want what you have, I must take away and strip you from your identity. I must take you away from the books. I must make you believe that what you're learning is not good enough. I must make you believe that if you want to learn, then you're labeled for your learning. I must make you believe now the school system is no longer cool to be educated, even though people receive PhDs within 1 year, even though people started school at the age of 20 and within 2 years received a high school degree and kept moving forward to college. I must make you believe that despite how great your people are, and the legacy that you sit on, that you must do everything opposite of what your ancestors died for. And if I can make you forget your history, then the destiny that God has waiting on you also will be rewritten. What's the concept of a destiny? The concept is someone can come to you and prophesy all day and all night what you will be, what they see in you, what they heard about you. But faith without works is dead, and just because they spoke it into your life, if you do not act on it, it does not activate your destiny. I believe that every last one of us in this room, faculty, staff, and student, has had at least one person speak positivity in their life. And whatever that positivity is, we must latch back into it, hold on to it, and understand that that moment in which they spoke that, the Lord allowed them to peek into my future and see a glimpse of my destiny. And now, I must grab hold to that. I must relive off of the veins of my ancestors. I must understand that I am in college to study to show myself approved. I must realize that whether I am a student, a faculty member, a staff, that what is in me is great, and I have a purpose at this moment and this hour. Why? Because one day guaranteed I will die, but my legacy will be left behind, and another former ancestor will pick up the torch, and what I do will motivate their destiny. So in honor of Black History Month, because that's what it was transferred to in 1957, I asked you the question that you asked your neighbors: do you deserve to celebrate? I don't want to party with everyone all the time. I don't believe in socializing with just any and everyone. I don't want to turn up with you just because you're in my age bracket or in my classification. You have to earn the right to turn up with me. You have to go to class and study just as hard as I studied. You have to endure the same way I endure. Why? Because when I come to you and I'm crying and I need motivation, I need you to understand my tears. and you can't understand if you've never sacrificed. And so during the month of February, I want us to change our train of thought and our mindset. Not that we're waiting for February to come, but every month, year-round, we are sharpening our intellectual capabilities. We are learning that there is a genocide going on. There is an intellectual genocide that is attempting to kill our people. And right now, there are enough people in this room to grab hold of it and turn everything right back around. Whatever your major is lines up to your destiny that can not only assist yourself, but can motivate and change the life of someone else. Then and only then have you earned the right to celebrate. Then and only then have you earned the right to celebrate. Your black card is not good enough. People pacified you your whole life. You were so cute. You was just mama's baby. You was come here. You was just, yes, you look just like your dad. I just love you. I love you. No, drop the mic. It is no longer good enough. And so from this day forward, as we close, I will no longer lie to you. I will no longer pacify your thoughts. I want to be in the mindset. I want to spiritually be surrounded by intellectual Carnegie Woodsons. I want to be with Ida B. Wells. I want to be with W.B. Du Boises. I want to be with Madam C.J. Walkers. And I see that in you, and I know this there. I want it to be that when we walk across each other on campus, we just happy because we just see another intellectual person. Hey, hey! And when we see someone that does not read, just pray for them. Just right now. Just read, Lord. Please read, Lord. R-E-A-D. Just spell to them. Read. What's the last book you read, Father, in the name of yes? Go on, just read. Your ignorance is no longer cute. Just turn to just read. Just turn to your neighbor. Just say read. Just read. Say with your chest. Just shake that with it. Just read. Just read. Just now blow, not in their face, just in case your breath wasn't. Just away from them, blow. Just read. Yes, Lord. From this day forward, if we continue to inspire each other as intellectuals and understand that we are as strong as our weakest link, and that from this day forward, iron sharpens iron. That from now on, we will motivate greatness in each other, and we will no longer settle for anything less. Then we will understand that we have earned the right to